Welcome to the Bober Academy Football Podcast, where we discuss all things football, primarily focusing on linemen. My name is Chris Bober, and this podcast is brought to you by the Bober Academy, where our mission is to train and develop superior linemen to dominate on the gridiron. You can subscribe to the Bober Academy Football Podcast by clicking the subscribe button wherever you find your podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the little red button down below to subscribe, and of course, the little bell to be notified every time we drop a new video. All right, so the regular season is done, and we're headed to the playoffs after an awesome 2021 high school season here in Nebraska. And to highlight some superior line play, we're going to be featuring a lineman of the week every week of the season. To highlight week 9, we're joined by head coach Kyle Peterson from Aurora High School to talk about the Huskies' 50-14 victory over Seward as they head into the playoffs. We'll also be joined by senior All-State O-lineman and D-line Gage Griffith, who was nominated as their lineman of the week. So, Coach Gage, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, Chris.
Awesome. Okay, Coach. I just got to say, I've been a fan of you guys. We were talking about this before we hit record. I got to see you guys last year against my son's team in Elkhorn. He went up against Gage, said he was the tough dude, man. It was, and you guys came so close last year. You've had a great season last year, lost your first 2 games, went on a run. I think you lost to Northwest, then you went on a run all the way to the championship. And this year you've kind of replicated that, except for you've had 7 straight wins. Tell me, what was the message to your team after coming so close in the championship game last year? Well, how did you handle the offseason? What did you say to those guys after that game?
Motivation wasn't a real hard thing for our kids this summer. We have returned a lot of players from that team. We returned 4 starting offensive linemen. We returned our entire front 7 on defense. So a lot of kids that played in that game are coming back this year. There were guys that were very motivated in the offseason. They understand, though, that this is a new team, a new year, a new identity. And it took us just a little bit of time to find that and to kind of find our bearings a little bit. But after about week 4, week 5, we started playing really good football, and we've been pretty consistent since then.
Nice. And Gage, tell me about, you're back for your senior year, and you got so close last year. And I think I read somewhere your guys' motto this year is unfinished business, which is the perfect motto, I would say, for you guys. But what was the locker room's mentality after that game, and how did you guys handle that all offseason?
Definitely in the offseason, we were just trying to get back to where we were last year. So a lot of work, a lot of dedication. We knew what it took last year, so we were just trying to replicate the same things for this year.
Yeah, and you guys have done a great job of doing that this year. And I was talking to Gage before we got on here, Coach, and it's kind of funny. You guys are right back where you were last year, even a better position. You have the pedigree, you have the experience, yet it doesn't seem like people are talking about Aurora as this returning playoff team, right? You're kind of under the radar. Are you okay with that? Just kind of staying under the radar. You got your little town out there, not too far away, but you're playing really good football. You got good players.
Yeah, we've played good football for a long time. We've won state championships. We've been to, I think, now 8 state finals in our program's history. So we've been playing really good football for a long time. And I think because of our location, we probably don't get quite the media attention that maybe some of the Eastern schools get. We're one of the smaller schools, maybe the smallest school this year in Class B. So I think that probably has a little bit of role to play in that too. But we put out pretty good football players. We've put out a lot of them over the years, and we're pretty proud of our product.
Yeah, I mean, your record speaks for itself. I mean, since you've been a head coach, I was looking at it. You've won the Class B championship. You've been to the finals. You've been to the playoffs every year. And, of course, you're an assistant for so long before then and having so much success. You got a few players down in Lincoln. I know you're putting out some good players. So a heck of a job with the program you put there. Gage, let me ask you this question. So you go through the offseason and, man, you feel like you're going to just kind of keep going on this level because you're so close and you're just going to come out and get ready to go. And you go to North Platte and you drop a big one there, and then you lose to a good Bennington team. What was the mentality after that, right? You're 0-2, and that's not where you wanted to be. But tell me about what your coach said. Tell me about the attitude of the players in the locker room and on the practice field.
Right. Starting 0-2 is kind of coming back down to earth moment for us. I think a lot of guys were comfortable week 1 and week 2. So the motivation was just to get back to where we needed to be and just find our groove, find our identity for the next upcoming weeks.
Yeah, I really admire how you guys handle that coming off losing a championship game. I lost a Super Bowl. And I'm telling you, it's horrible. I would not have even gone to it if I knew we were going to lose. It's so hard being that close. And you guys have done such a great job to really rebound, especially after an 0-2 start. So you guys have had a great season. I was telling Gage, of all the teams you've played in Class B, everyone except for one team is in the playoffs this year, Coach. You guys have had a tough schedule, but you've managed to really do well. I see you guys coming on just more and more confidence every week. But last week you played a 7-1 Seward team, a good team, and you guys handled them that whole game. Tell me about that game and how you guys kind of capped off this great season against a good football team.
The big change in our football team, I think, from maybe week 3 or week 4 to where we are now going into the playoffs is our defensive play. We've been a real tough team to get first downs on as of late. We're starting to force turnovers. We forced 4 first-half turnovers against Seward. We turned all those into points. And I think anytime you're getting short fields, you're getting a defensive score. You're getting your offense extra possessions in a half. You're going to really increase your opportunities. And we took full advantage of those as an offense last week. We are very physical at the line of scrimmage, and I think we wear on people a little bit. And by the time you get midway through the second quarter last week, you could really see that some of those 10 and 12-yard runs were starting to bust. And all of a sudden, when you become explosive, that makes you a completely different football team as well.
Yeah, by my count, when I looked at the stats, you guys had 278 yards rushing last week. And Gage, what was it like when you have a game like that? When you just start running the ball, there are 2, 3, 4-yard gains, and all of a sudden you start popping 8, 10, 12-yard runs. And it's just I remember that as an old lineman, you just start getting so much confidence. It seems like that's kind of what you guys do in games, right?
Right, definitely. Play one. The message is we're here to punch you in the mouth the whole game. And I give a lot of respect for our backs. They are super appreciative for what we do. There's not a moment where it goes unmissed, our efforts for those guys.
Yeah, well, speaking about those skill guys, Coach, last year I got to see a really good quarterback in Ethan Shaw, and I was so impressed. And I'm an offensive geek about this stuff. I've seen your Coach Tube video about the spread system, and I just love doing that because you get guys, they're playmakers the ball. You open bigger lanes for running the game. But it seems like this year, Mac Owens was a monster last year, and I know at Elkhorn we couldn't tackle in the second half, and he looks like this year you're spreading the wealth a lot more, right? You got a couple quarterbacks. It seems like you play more, and Mac Owens isn't even your leading rusher. You got this Colazo who's came on, and you guys are so versatile. Tell me about your skilled players, specifically your quarterbacks and your running backs, because it seems like you don't just have 1 or 2 guys. You have several guys.
Yeah, our backfield is pretty diverse. We have a lot of guys with a lot of different skill sets. Carlos was our leading rusher. Colazo was our leading rusher a year ago until he broke his collarbone in week 5 or 6 of the season last year. Okay. And at that point in time, that's when Mac went from being a kid that was getting 15 to 20 carries a game to a kid that in the playoffs a couple of times got 40 carries, just because we needed to rely on him kind of as that bell cow kid. We're trying to distribute the ball around to all the different kids that deserve touches. We have a couple of tight ends that we feel real good about. We have another running back in Britton Kimling who every time he touches it, something good happens. He doesn't get near as many touches as our other 2 kids, but he's a dynamic kid. He's a blocker more often than not, but he's a real good ball carrier too. We have Carson Stairs, probably our leading receiver. Tate Nochdall's first year out for football is a really nice receiver. He's a 6'5" kid that catches the ball real good in traffic. The goal is to distribute the ball to as many kids as possible, and that's what our quarterback needs to do. He's a distributor. Last year, Ethan was probably a little more of a playmaker, especially with his feet. He was a 1,000-yard rusher. Well, we don't do that with our quarterback near as much this year. We could, but we're trying to save some hits on him and maybe distribute those out to some other kids. Our option game is starting to expand a little bit, and we really use quite a bit of that against Seward. And I think we'll probably see that expand even a little bit more as we get into the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think that probably saves those guys for this playoff run, right? I mean, you don't have a running back that's getting 40 carries, so if you have more than one, they're going to be fresher. And it seems like you mix and match your quarterbacks a little bit too. But I also notice that even though you're spread out a lot, you actually run the ball quite a bit. So tell me, Gage, you're in the spread offense, which most people think, oh, great, you just throw the ball all the time. But you actually, I think it feels like you guys run the ball twice as much as you pass the ball. You know, what do you feel like being in this offense? Because I seen you guys run the ball, you come off the ball.
Yeah, I love running the football. I definitely rather run block than pass block any day of the week because it's fun, it's physical, and it's rewarding to get guys in the secondary and break tackles for big plays.
Yeah, and those are your dudes, man. It sounds like they're, to hear a lineman come out and compliment the skilled players is a pretty cool deal. It means they're playing together as a team. All right, Coach, you talked about the skilled guys, and let's talk about your big boys, right? You said you have 4 starters coming back on offense, probably that many come back on defense on the line. Tell me about your linemen. What are they allowing you to do in your both offensively and defensively?
Well, we need to be diverse. We run a lot of different schemes up front. We're going to run some just traditional veer option game, both under center and in the gun. We run an awful lot of GT counters. So we need our linemen to be athletic. They need to be able to run. They need to be able to pull. They need to have great eyes, because ultimately you've got to be able to understand, what the defense is doing and then adjust. Am I going to log this? Am I going to kick it? When my tackle's got to adjust accordingly. So you have to have great eyes. But ultimately, they have to be incredibly physical. And we take a great deal of pride in trying to be the most physical team on the field each and every week. We spend quite a bit of time talking about physicality, and we, as often as possible, will in practice put our best against best in the shoot, because you don't get live reps in team. You don't get great reps because we don't have that kind of depth, right? We have 6, maybe 7 guys that probably play at that level. So we got to put them against each other in 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 situations, and practice being physical. Because I think that's something that you have to do Monday through Thursday in order to do that on Friday. You can't just play physical on Friday without practicing that way throughout the week.
Yeah, I see Gage up there shaking his head in agreement with you, because those big boys up front, they definitely make or break your team, and it doesn't matter what kind of skilled guys you have if they're getting hit all the time. Gage, tell me about your boys up front. I know that you played mostly tackle. I've seen that you go tackle over. I did watch some of your highlights and stuff, and I've seen you play. And man, he is a crushing double team and down blocker. I mean, he just clears holes. Gage just knocks holes wide open. But tell me about your boys up front. Like, give me some insight on those guys. Like, who's the funny guy? Who's the smelly guy? I mean, because high school linemen are, we're kind of quirky, man. We're a little weird, right? We're a tight group.
That is an understatement.
They
are weird. They're so weird.
Tell me about these guys. Don't be afraid to embarrass them a little bit. Hopefully they get to see this.
I don't know. I don't know if I can.
Just a little bit, right?
All right. So Jack is definitely the goofy one.
Yeah.
Book smart, like super book smart, but in the real world, he's goofy. Super goofy. And I'm sure Coach can agree with that. He's an odd guy. He really is.
He's one of the smartest guys in the team, but oh my goodness, when it comes to common sense, he doesn't have it all the time, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Nice. Now, have you been playing with a lot of these guys? I mean, because you're from Aurora, right? That's where you grew up. And so have you been playing with these guys for a lot of years?
Yeah, ever since Pee Wee football.
Oh, that's cool. It's so cool to see that come together, right, Coach? I'm sure you see that every year. Guys who've been knowing each other for a decade get to experience high school football together. It's kind of like their dream. It's a really cool deal to do. All right, Coach, back to you. Tell me about, okay, so you're 7-2. I feel like you got a great amount of momentum, right? You've beaten playoff teams going into this thing. Great victory versus a good Seward team. What is your game plan for the playoffs, right? You got 3 games and a championship that you want to get through. What's your message to these guys this week, and how do you see this playing out in the playoffs for you guys?
Well, first of all, there's a finality to every game. If you don't play your best football come playoff time, then your season's coming to an end. So we want to be playing our best football come playoff time. That's the message. That's our goal beginning of the seasons. We talk about becoming the best us that we can become. Whatever that's going to lead us to, that's what we're going to become, the very best us. And we're not there yet. We're still trying to become the best us. We're still looking for little things that we can do each and every week to get better. We're focusing on that, trying to become a better football team this week than we were last week, with the understanding that there's finality to it. If we don't bring our A game, then we don't get to play again next week. Earn the opportunity, but continue to strive to become the best that this football team, that the 2021 Huskies can become.
Yeah, kind of make your own mark. And it's always funny when the season ends, you just kind of assume you're going to start over where you ended up. It just doesn't work that way, right?
Every team is unique. Every team is different. Every team has its own characters. Every team has its own personality. Every team develops its own identity. And that's, for me, the most fun part about coaching is getting to experience that with the kids and helping them find their identity. Because a number of years ago, we had a Baylor Shireman that threw for thousands of yards and touchdowns. And last year we had 2,000-yard rushers and a 2,000-yard passer. And this year it's even a little bit different yet. So, finding the team's strength and finding a way to play to that identity is really the fun part. And it's different every year. Every year you think you know what it's going to be. And a lot of times you as a coach don't. The kids kind of figure that out on their own, and you lead them to it, but they figured it out on their own.
Yeah, I mean, I put the helmet on for 19 seasons, and every single year was different. And some of the years I thought we were going to be amazing, we weren't. And some of the years I thought we'd struggle, we were amazing. So you just never know until you get out there and get out there competing. But you got great players like Gage Griffith here. Now, Gage, I'm so impressed with your versatility, right? I mean, we're talking about being athletes. But for those of you who are listening or watching, Gage won the Class B championship last year in both shot put and discus, right? How has that helped you with football? Right, because it's such an explosive deal, but you seem to have that down.
It's the details and the technique, and definitely in the weight room. So it kind of correlates there. Mm-hmm. A lot of movement, a lot of explosive activities, like getting off the ball, hitting the power position, driving through everything. So yeah, it definitely correlates.
I'm talking. Are you a wrestler too? I think I saw that.
Used to be.
Okay, so you got football, you got throwing. Tell me, you're a senior now. I know you told me you want to go out and be a dentist, which is awesome because your educational goals are in front of any athletic goals. But what are you thinking about next, right? After this season's over, of course, you're going to go out there and enjoy every game that you can. But after high school, what's next for you? You're going to go play. Are you thinking about going to football? Are you going to go throw? What are you looking at?
The door is wide open as of right now. I haven't made up my mind for one or the other, so still waiting.
Nice. Well, I think I always talk to the guys on here. I say that, I got to play for so long. And again, I wore the helmet 19 seasons, college, NFL, high school, middle school. But your senior year in high school was one of my favorite seasons. I mean, there's nothing like being a senior and playing on your home turf, Friday Night Lights, the band, you got playoffs. It's so cool, man. You just got to enjoy it. You know what I mean? You got to take every play and just enjoy being there, enjoy being, there's nothing more special than that huddle, right? Even the coaches can't be a part of that. You and your boys out there in the huddle, giving it everything you got. And, from what I've seen, you guys have a great shot of getting back there and hopefully coming away with a championship, So I'm appreciative of you guys coming on here. I'm going to, of course, share this with everyone. If anyone out there is listening, go watch Gage Griffith's tape, man. This dude just comes off the ball and mauls people. So, Coach, Gage, thank you so much. Best of luck this week. You got Lexington, and then hopefully you get a W and continue on towards that getting back to that championship game and trying to pull off that victory. So, again, best of luck this week and all the way through the playoffs. I'll be watching. I'm huge fans of what you guys do out there. So, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.